Welcome to Guide to IELTS. In Writing Task 1 of IELTS Academic, test takers are asked to describe some visual information in their own words. It could be one or more bar graph, line graph, pie chart, table, process, map, or a combination of any of these. One needs to write a report by summarizing the information in the given illustration. The writing should be of at least 150 words and needs to be written in about 20 minutes. Some quick tips for Writing Task 1 Academic before we start. Don't write your answer in points, write complete sentences. Do not use contractions such as don't, isn't, etc. Write do not, is not instead. Use a variety of words, and it does not just mean big words. Do not give your opinion. Include the most important and most relevant points in the diagram. Some minor points or details may be left out. Plan your writing. There is a similarity in how we plan and write a report for a bar graph, line graph, pie chart, or a table. The basic vocabulary used in these is also the same. However, maps and processes are a different ballgame altogether. In this video, we'll discuss how to tackle a map question of Writing Task 1 of IELTS Academic. Usually, there are two maps in such questions and you're required to describe and compare the two. The two maps could be of present and future. That is the layout of a place now and the plans for the future. The two maps could also be about past and present, that is how the place was in the past versus how it is now. Or both the maps could be about past, that is how they were in two different years in the past. Sometimes, although it is rare, you may get three maps or just one map. In this video, we'll write a sample report for these maps. We follow the same three steps that we follow in the other reports. Step 1, trust your eyes. Step 2, plan your writing. Step 3, write. In this case, just by glancing at the maps, we see that the first map is more or less bare, with two clusters of trees at the eastern and western ends. Also, there's a beach at the eastern end. The map after development shows cottages and buildings and paths. The trees and beach seem to be exactly the same though. The basic format that we follow for writing a report of maps is Paragraph 1, paraphrase the question. Paragraph 2, briefly describe the first map. Paragraph 3, and if needed 4, compare the two maps. So in these paragraphs, we write what is the same and what has changed. On to step 2, that is planning of the writing. In this one, the first map is rather simple. So first we'll mention the trees, followed by the beach. Next, we do the major planning. What has remained the same? Both the trees and the beach are the same, except the fact that a swimming area is there where the beach is. Now we list the changes, trying to figure out what sequence we write them in. We could obviously start from any point on this map, but the two obvious possibilities in this case are the pier and the reception. I'd prefer to start with the pier because that would be the entry point of the island. Then vehicle track to the reception, which further leads to a restaurant. The reception has footpaths leading to accommodation or cottages on both sides. If needed, and this would depend on what our word count is by this point, we can write that there are more cottages towards the east as compared to the west. Also, the eastern, the widest end of the island is still undeveloped or is left untouched. At this stage, we should also think about what vocabulary we'd use. However, in this video, we'll list out the vocabulary used in the writing, along with some more words we can use in maps after the writing. So this is what your planning would look like. Once you practice this a bit, the planning doesn't take more than a maximum of 2 minutes, but it goes a long way in improving the content and the structure of your writing. It also cuts down the writing time. Now we finally start writing. So paragraph 1, we paraphrase. The given maps present the pre- and post-development layout of an island. The first map depicts the island prior to the development for touristy purposes, while the second one illustrates it afterwards. Paragraph 2. We try for an overall statement in this paragraph, followed by brief description of the first map. The island, which initially seems to be completely untouched by human activity, underwent a major overhaul after building of amenities for holidaymakers. Before, the island, which is wider on the eastern end, had two clusters of trees, one on the eastern side and a smaller one on the western end. There was a beach at the westernmost end. Paragraph 3. I usually prefer to write what has remained unchanged before I write about the changes. So, the beach scene on the first map is there on the second one too, though in the latter, the ocean around it is a swimming spot. Another feature that has stayed untouched is the 2 tree clusters. Next, we list out the changes. According to the planning, we mention the pier first, followed by the reception and the restaurant, and then the vehicular path that connects them. We make certain changes in the vocabulary, like changing vehicular track to track for vehicles. Subsequent to the development for tourism, a T-shaped pier can be seen in the southwest where sailboats drop the passengers. The pier has a track for vehicles which first leads to the reception and then also connects to the restaurant, which is towards north of the reception. Next, let's write about the accommodation and the footpath, which we write as can only be accessed by pedestrians. In both the eastern and western direction of the reception are multiple cottage-like accommodations where vacationers can stay. The living quarters and the beach can only be accessed by pedestrians, and there are no roads for vehicles leading up to them. We could also write other details like restaurants where tourists can have their meals, or there are more cottages on the east than on the west. But what we have written is already at 219 words, and we have covered all the main features, so these can be left out. This is a screenshot of this writing from our website, guide2ielts.com. The link to these writings on the website is in the description of this video. On to the vocabulary now. For every writing, there is a general vocabulary and a topic-specific vocabulary. In this case, the topic-specific vocabulary would include alternative words for island. I could have written a piece of land surrounded by water, but that's too wordy and technical, so I chose not to use it. But there are certain other synonyms that have been used. Sea, ocean, accommodation, living quarters, or where tourists can stay. Footpath, path for pedestrians. Vehicular track, track or path or road for vehicles. Tourist, traveler, holidaymaker, vacationer. Facilities, amenities. Another possible synonym is conveniences, which hasn't been used in our writing. Construction, building. However, when preparing, we should always pay more attention to the general vocabulary. When writing a report for maps, certain words and phrases that can be used are listed here, some of which have been used in our writing too. Before, prior to, in the past, pre, after, later, following, subsequent to, afterwards. Construction and building we've mentioned before, but that's part of the general vocabulary. Layout, plan, design, diagram, outline, organization, arrangement, sketch, even blueprint if the second map is about future planning. Show, depict, illustrate, present. While writing a report, whether for maps or for some graph, we should check if some future planning or forecast is mentioned, in which case the sentences would need to be structured accordingly. For example, after development, it would be or there would be, it is planned that, after the planned construction, there will be. In case of a forecast, the sentences could be something like, it is predicted or forecasted, according to the prediction or forecast, it is expected that. Another thing is that in the writing we just did, the first map showed an undeveloped area. In case there is some construction before in the first map, which has changed or there are plans to change it, some words such as renovation or redevelopment can be used. Or that this has replaced that, or this was demolished and that has taken its place. That's it from us for now. If you found this video useful, do like, share and comment. Spread the word. We await your suggestions and feedback. Also subscribe to our channel. It helps us reach more people and also inspires us to make more videos. If there is any particular writing question that you'd like us to discuss, or if you have a question about anything else related to IELTS, mention it in the comments below and we'll try to answer it in our forthcoming videos. Bye for now from guide2ielts.com.